Welcome back to the channel, hockey fans. Hockey is a violent sport and can sometimes be fatal. Players are skating at speeds of 30 kilometers an hour or more and carry a weapon in their hands. Tempers are constantly on edge and the potential for violence is ever present. Frustrated players have been known to cross the line from fair play into near-fatal confrontations. Some of hockey's most violent altercations, whether accidental or suspiciously on purpose, are listed below. These are a few of the most gruesome hockey injuries in no particular order. Adam Johnson, October 28, 2023. Adam Johnson was a 29-year-old American ice hockey player who died in a tragic accident during a game in England. He was playing for the Nottingham Panthers against the Sheffield Steelers on October 28, 2023, when a skate blade cut his neck. He had previously played for the Pittsburgh Penguins in the NHL and several other European teams. His death shocked the hockey world and led to a manslaughter investigation by the police. Ace Bailey, December 12, 1933. Ace Bailey was a star player for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 1920s and 1930s. He led the NHL in scoring in 1929 and helped the Leafs win the Stanley Cup in 1932. However, his career ended abruptly on December 12, 1933, when he suffered a severe head injury during a game against the Boston Bruins. He was hit from behind by Eddie Shore, who was angry after being checked by Bailey's teammate King Clancy. Bailey fell backward and hit his head on the ice, fracturing his skull. He was rushed to a hospital in Boston where neurosurgeons worked through the night to save his life. His injuries were so severe that doctors gave him only hours to live. He miraculously survived but never played hockey again. His jersey number 6 was the first ever to be retired by an NHL team, and an all-star benefit game was held for him at Maple Leaf Gardens on February 14, 1934, where he and Shore reconciled at center ice before the game began. Hoe Moren, January 28, 1937. Hoe Moren was a Canadian professional ice hockey player who played in the NHL for the Montreal Canadiens, Chicago Blackhawks, and New York Rangers. He was one of the most dominant and popular players of his time, winning 3 Stanley Cups and 3 Hart trophies. He was known for his speed and skill on the ice, earning him names like the Stratford Streak and the Mitchell Meteor. On January 28, 1937, Moren suffered a career-ending injury when he broke 4 bones in his left leg and ankle during a game against the Chicago Blackhawks. His skate got stuck in the boards as an opponent tripped him. He was taken to the hospital where he developed blood clots and other complications. He died on March 8, 1937 at the age of 34 from a heart attack. His death shocked and saddened the hockey world, and thousands of fans paid their respects at his funeral. Maurice Richard, April 8, 1952. On April 8, 1952, Maurice Richard played in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup semifinals against the Boston Bruins at the Montreal Forum. In the first period, he collided with Bruins defenseman Leo Labine and suffered a severe concussion and a cut over his left eye that required 5 stitches. Blood covered Richard's face as he was taken to the dressing room, where he remained unconscious for most of the game. Many thought he would not return, but Richard returned to the ice with 3 minutes left in the third period, and the score tied 1-1. He skated past 2 Bruins defenders and scored a spectacular goal on goalie Sugar Jim Henry, giving the Canadiens a 2-1 victory and a spot in the Stanley Cup final. It was one of the most memorable moments in Richard's career and NHL history. Gordy Howe, February 1st, 1959. One of the most memorable moments in hockey history was the fight between Lou Fontinato and Gordy Howe on February 1st, 1959. Fontinato, a tough defenseman for the New York Rangers, had a long-running feud with Howe, the star forward of the Detroit Red Wings. Fontinato had provoked Howe several times before, hitting him with his stick and mocking him. Howe had vowed to get even, and he got his chance when Fontinato came after him during a scrum in the third period. Howe dropped his gloves and unleashed a barrage of punches that left Fontinato with a broken nose, a dislocated jaw, and a bloody face. Howe also injured his hand from hitting Fontinato so hard. The fight was witnessed by a packed crowd at Madison Square Garden and captured by photographers and reporters. It cemented Howe's reputation as one of the league's toughest and most skilled players, and it humbled Fontinato, who never challenged Howe again. Bobby Baun, April 23, 1964. Bobby Baun was a Canadian professional ice hockey defenseman who played in the NHL for 17 seasons, mostly with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He won 4 Stanley Cups with the Leafs, but is best remembered for his heroic performance in the 1964 finals against the Detroit Red Wings. In Game 6, Bond blocked a shot from Gordy Howe with his ankle, which turned out to be fractured. He was taken off the ice on a stretcher, but returned in overtime and scored the game-winning goal to force a Game 7, which the Leafs won 4-0. Bond played in that game as well, despite his injury. Bond was known for being a hard-hitting and clean player who often played through pain and injuries. He suffered a neck injury in 1973 that ended his NHL career at the age of 36. Bill Masterton, January 13, 1968. Bill Masterton was a professional ice hockey player who played for the Minnesota North Stars in the National Hockey League. He's the only player in NHL history to die as a direct result of injuries suffered during a game. On January 15, 1968, Masterton was checked by two Oakland Seals players and fell backward, hitting his head on the ice. He suffered a massive brain injury and never regained consciousness. He died 2 days later at the age of 29. Mark Howe was a professional ice hockey player who played in the WHA and the NHL from 1973 to 1995. He was the son of hockey legend Gordy Howe and a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Howe played as a defenseman and a left winger and won 2 championships with the Houston Aeros in the WHA. He also represented Canada in the 1974 Summit Series and the United States in the 1981 Canada Cup. One of the most horrific injuries in NHL history happened to Mark Howe on December 27, 1980, when he was playing for the Hartford Whalers. Howe was chasing a loose puck in his own zone when he lost his balance and slid feet first into the net. His skates lifted the goalposts off the ice, and the metal spike that held the post in place impaled him in the buttock, just missing his spinal column. He suffered a 5-inch gash and lost 3.5 pints of blood. He was rushed to the hospital and underwent emergency surgery. The injury nearly ended his career and prompted the NHL to change the design of its nets to prevent such accidents from happening again. Howe recovered from his injury and continued to play at a high level for many years. He was traded to the Philadelphia Flyers in 1982, where he became a Norris Trophy finalist 3 times and helped the team reach the Stanley Cup Finals twice. He finished his career with the Detroit Red Wings, playing alongside his father and brother for 1 season in Hartford. He retired in 1995 with 742 points in 929 NHL games and 504 points in 426 WHA games. He is widely regarded as one of the best two-way defensemen of all time. This is just a sampling of some of the most egregious NHL injuries. There are many others too numerous to mention. In the comments, please name some examples not mentioned. Hey hockey fans, if you like this content, please smack that subscribe button. You can also follow my blog at https://headtalkshockey.com, and remember to keep your stick on the ice.
Thanks for watching.